Alright, I'd like to start this motherfucker off with a disclaimer. I do not in any way, shape, or form hate Half-Life Alyx. I'm extremely proud of the team that made this and everything they accomplished. They took a big leap deciding to make the next Half-Life game in VR, especially considering how toxic the gaming community can sometimes be. That takes some humongo jungo balls, and that shit inspires me, honestly. So, why am I making this video? Well, that's pretty simple. VR is in a very special place right now, where both the hardware and software are constantly being reinvented. We're experimenting with new ways to play video games, everything from the movement to shooting peeps in the fucking head. It's a brand new frontier, and because of that, I feel it's important, especially in this case, to talk about shortcomings so far so that we can improve and continue to keep people interested in VR. While I don't think the next Half-Life game will be in VR, I do think that people on this dev team will continue to be making VR games, and because of that, there's things I feel like they could improve on. With all that being said, let's begin a discussion on Half-Life Alyx. Its highs, its lows, actually just kind of its lows. If you want to hear someone jack off the game for 20 minutes, just go to any other review on this game. Okay, are the people who aren't gonna listen gone yet? Okay, yeah, okay, let's do this shit. Woo! Woo! Guys, check it out, I found this cute— Whoa, what the fuck? Also, some minor spoilers, just to let you know, okay? Cool, yeah. Okay, let's be honest. VR isn't for everyone. Yet. Because it's still in a very experimental state. You need a fuck ton of wires, a fuck ton of money, and a fuck ton of space to play. I feel like if I was gonna compare VR to past gaming events, VR right now is like the arcade. It's a lot harder to access video games because you have to drive or walk all the way there, and it's expensive because I have to pay money every time I play. Not only that, but most of the games I play are pretty simple and are just about getting high scores. But home consoles haven't been invented yet, so if you want to play video games, this is it, chief. That's how VR is right now. There isn't really a convenient way to play.
Oh my god, is the whole computer crashing? Can't even get to Control Alt Delete. That's good. Just got one of these.
It's buggy, bulky, and wired. Seriously, look at all these fucking wires. I'm surprised my parents haven't kicked me out of the house yet. We're still looking for that it way to play. The Oculus Quest is for sure a step in the right direction, but another problem is that everyone is hesitant to buy a VR headset because it's improving so fast. The question is, will this thing still be relevant in a year? And with a $600 starting fee, that question can feel like a pretty decisive one. So why the hell are people even trying VR? Well, that's pretty simple actually. Alright, now it's time for the bone work. But what is wrong with my hands? Oh my fuck. It's pretty fucking fun. And why is it fun? Because it allows for a style of gameplay and interactivity that hasn't been seen before. It's an entirely new experience, because instead of clicking to hit someone in the head, I rear my arm back and bash them in the fucking skull. Instead of pressing E to pick up an object, I literally reach out and pick that shit up. From there, I can turn it around, examine it, or just fucking throw it. Where VR lacks in places such as mobility and accessibility, it makes up for it in its kick-ass interactivity. So now, why the hell am I explaining all of this to you? Wasn't this video supposed to be about Half-Life Alyx? Yes, it was. And the reason I'm explaining all of this to you is because Half-Life Alyx didn't push the envelope for interactivity. It looked at the contracts and limits for interactivity that was inside the envelope they were pushing, crumpled it up, and just fucking pissed on it. Just not consistently. Okay, hang on, let me explain. The intro of Half-Life Alyx is a great example of how much detail the team gave to this game. The fact that I can grab markers and write stupid shit, or the fact that I can pick up objects and place them inside a water pail and they actually, like, stay in there. I know that sounds simple, but it really isn't. Every object feels real because they act like the object would in real life. And when everything feels like it's there, it feels like you're there. Until you realize you can't fucking hit anything! Anyone that's played or watched Half-Life Alyx probably knew this was coming, and that's because it needs to be talked about. No melee in a VR game is the quickest way to take your player almost completely out of the experience. Simply because whenever you play a non-VR game and your character can't punch a zombie, you as the player understand, oh, I guess this character just doesn't have that ability. But when you are the character and your hands and head are moving the character, your brain understands that, oh, this is me now. And when your brain realizes that a brick placed firmly into a zombie's skull does absolutely nothing, it gets confused. Because monkey part of the brain said if we hit things with an object, they should die. And when they don't, it goes, hey brain, something's wrong. And when your brain realizes something's wrong, it tells you and it makes you uncomfortable. And when you feel uncomfortable, you suddenly realize that your head didn't suddenly just gain 15 pounds, you're actually wearing a Vive headset. Darkness imprisoning me. And this is where the main core of my problems with Alyx comes from. Not just the fact that when I hit something, it either A, doesn't even register that I smacked it with a brick, or B, does a weird stun animation or something, and then it kills me. No, the biggest problem with Alyx is that the interactivity that everyone keeps talking about is only on a surface level. You only interact when you are allowed to interact and in the way that you were supposed to interact. A great example of this is the gravity gloves, so let's talk about those. So for those of you who don't know, Alyx gives you these handy dandy things called gravity gloves, which allow you to pull objects to you at very large ranges with a simple flick of your wrist. Point to the object, flick at a wrist, and boom, it's in your hands. This solves a large problem that VR has, that whenever I drop an object I have to reach all the way down and pick it up, and when an object falls into a crack, it's probably lost forever. You can pick up just about anything with them, which is awesome, but that's also the problem. That's all you can do with them, pick things up. Which during combat offers cool opportunities, like if an enemy drops a grenade I can pick it up and, activate it. But to explain why I find these disappointing, let's look at the gravity gun from Half-Life 2. The gravity gun allows you to pick up objects in the environment and pull them to you. The difference is that whenever I pick up a brick in Alyx, all I can really do is throw it, and it doesn't really do anything. In Half-Life 2, whenever you pick up an object, like say a buzzsaw for example, this is what you can do with it. Now tell me, which one looks more fun to you? My hope is that you answer cutting the zombie in half. Life 2. Aha! Yes! So, do you see what I mean now? Sure, I can pick up all this shit in Half-Life Alyx, but then whenever the shooting starts, what am I supposed to do with it? This is what I mean when I say that the interactivity is at a surface level. Or maybe a better way of putting it is that it's separated. When I'm going through the environment, I'm touching every little thing I can get my grubby little hands on, playing the piano, hitting buttons, breaking glasses, but then when a fight starts, my only option is really shoot with this gun, shoot with this gun, or shoot with this gun. Half-Life Alyx has effectively given me a slice of bread with peanut butter and another slice of bread with jelly, and every time I try to combine them, the game's like, no, stop that, fuck you. Instead of just pulling objects to me, let me push them. Let me knock them over. Give me some options in combat that are more than just, who do I shoot first? Let me eat my fucking PB and J!
This peanut butter sandwich is pretty good. You know what else is pretty good?
Okay. I'd like to take a little break now to talk about some things that I did like in Half-Life Alyx, because to be honest, I don't want this video to just be me spewing out negative shit. So, what did I like? Well, I guess if I had to choose only one thing... Holy fuck! The game's soundtrack is so good! Who made this? Mike? Okay, Mike? Good job, Mike. The Jeff part? Okay, I like the Jeff part a lot, because it's exactly what I wanted. Jeff is a zombie that only responds to sound, so basically you have to solve a bunch of puzzles by combining the environment with the gameplay. Oh hey, I need to turn this wheel, but every time I do it makes a noise and Jeff comes and eats my face off. Well, I'll just go into this room, make a bunch of noise, and then when he walks in, sneak out and close the door, trapping him in there, so then I can turn the wheel. That shit's cool. That's a fun puzzle. This is not a fun puzzle. Well, it was the first time, and then it got really boring. Alright, what else did I like? Ooh, the dialogue? Really good. I enjoyed it. A lot. Up Is Not Jump made like a great analysis on that in his video about this, so I'm not really going to go into much detail. All you need to know is that whenever a cutscene on a game usually comes on, I end up tuning out very quickly. I don't know what it is about me, but dialogue usually just never interests me, but in this game, it did. I liked watching all of the characters talk to each other, and honestly, I was a little sad when it ended, because that means I didn't get to see Russell talk about a fucking sandwich for 10 minutes again. which sounds stupid, but it was really cool. Once again, up is not jump. Great video. Fucking whatever. Alright, boys. Now it's time to go back to being a piece of shit critic. Let's go!
Let's run, have fun, get up and be a player.
Get up and play an hour a day.
An important part of game design is direction. When you're making a game, you should know what kind of experience you want the player to have, and then design the game around that. This is especially true in the movement department. Take the game Budget Cuts for example. This is a VR stealth game where you move by creating portals which you can go through, but you can also see out of the portals before you hop through them, so you can know whether or not where you're going to is safe. While portals may not be a new concept, the game used virtual reality to its advantage by saying, hey, just because portals aren't a thing we thought of, the way that we use them for this game and how that combines with VR makes the experience feel brand new. What I'm getting at is that Budget Cuts felt like it knew what it wanted its movement to be, which brings me back to Half-Life Alyx, which frankly doesn't. In an effort to appeal to as many people as possible, Half-Life Alyx gives the player 4 different movement options. Okay, quick little editor's note here. Whenever I said appeal to as many people as possible, what I really meant is just like give people as many options as they could, since people get motion sick in VR easily. But when I said appeal to as many people as possible, that kind of made me sound like a douchebag a little bit. That's not what I was going for. I was just saying that they gave people a lot of options for the movement, and I think that's a bad thing. I'll explain why. Okay, back to the video. These options are Blink, which is the teleport way with a fade out and then fade in of the screen whenever you get to your destination. Shift, which is where you teleport by moving the player really fast to a destination. Continuous, which is where you move by holding a button in the direction your head is facing, which is what I used. And Continuous Hand, which is basically the same as Continuous, except it's where your hand is facing, not your head. Now, you may be thinking, Drew, 2 of these are just modifications of another thing, aren't they? To which I'd probably respond, don't you ever fucking interrupt me again, this is my TED Talk, not yours. Also, okay, fine, I'll give it to you. Continuous hand and head movement are pretty similar, but I think Blink and Shift are pretty different, at least when it comes to feel. So I'll compromise with you and we'll say that there are 3 different movement types. Even so, this means that there are not 1, but 3 different styles of movement that your game must be built around. Movement is really the backbone of a video game, metaphorically and literally. And if that's the case, Half-Life Alyx has essentially given me 3 different spines to choose from, and is now telling me to explore the world with them. Okay, well, which one's the best for exploring your world? There isn't really a recommendation, and I don't get motion sick, so like, I don't care what it is, just tell me what to use. But that's the thing, Alyx doesn't know what it wants you to use either, and to prove it, let's look at 80% of the enemies in the game. Chasers, which is a term I'm using for all of the enemies that don't have ranged attacks, so they have to either walk or jump or throw objects at you to close the distance. Did that zombie just get killed by another zombie throwing a barrel at him? Whoa, my mannequin! So you think to yourself, damn, okay, so a zombie chasing you sounds pretty fucking scary. Yeah, well here's the problem. No matter what movement option you pick, they're a joke. Here, I'll prove it. If you're using either of the 2 teleporting methods, literally all you have to do is just turn around and teleport away. I really can't explain it any simpler. I know earlier I said the 2 teleporting methods are different in how they feel, but in this example they work the exact same, so there's no point in me bringing it up twice. Okay, first of all, look how fucking slow Continuous is. I'll get more into that in a second, but regardless of how slow it is, look at how you can literally just walk away from all of the chasers! What the fuck, Half-Life? Movement is ungodly slow and continuous, which is tedious enough in combat when you want to sprint to cover, but all you can do is walk as if you're a cold-blooded snail with fucking hypothermia. But beyond that, the fact that enemies can be walked away from is absurd, and once the player figures that out, all danger from these guys is just immediately thrown to the wind. Oh no, this super scary zombie's coming up. Okay, no he's not, he's just walking away. Just walking, look at him go. Oh, you motherfucker! I mentioned direction earlier because I feel like it's what the movement in this game was lacking the most in. I don't blame the dev team for accidentally making all of the enemies in this game not dangerous. How the fuck could you? You have to essentially make enemies for 3 variations of a game, each one changing how an enemy would be a danger to the player a shit ton! Not only does this affect the game in the gameplay department, but also in the immersion one. When I can fucking teleport with no explanation as to why, or when I walk at the speed of a Okay, honestly, I can't think of a better example than the snail one. I was really proud of that, so let's just pretend I said something really funny here. Anyways, when I'm moving slow or teleporting, I don't feel immersed because I don't know why the fuck I'm moving this slow, or why enemies aren't questioning why I just teleported behind them and said, "Oh my wa, mo, shouldn't you," then blasted a shell into their forehead. So while going back to get some footage, as I was playing through the other levels, testing out the different movement options, I figured out that you could kind of just skip through levels if you have the teleport option on. As you can see, I took like a few hits right there, actually one hit. And for the rest of it, I just skipped through the level. There are like 20 zombies in those rooms I just went through, but I just said fuck it. If that doesn't show like how directionless the movement for this game is, I really don't know what does. So how about the shooting enemies? You know, the Combine? Well, it's funny you ask, because movement against them is actually the complete opposite. Instead of being too good, it is fucking useless. If you try and walk to a different cover spot, good luck, because you're about to be riddled with holes. And while teleporting is useful when you do it right, it can sometimes feel disorienting, so by the time you get your bearings about you again, the enemy has already jammed the barrel of their gun down your throat. So because of this, the best tactic is just to kinda wait behind one cover spot, shoot your guns if you see an opening, and if one gets close, just keep using your shotgun until they die. So the shootouts? Not very fun. They can basically be boiled down to hide behind cover, peek out when you have the chance, get shot out of fucking nowhere, use one of your 3 grenades if you're desperate, and use your shotgun if the enemy gets close enough, or just fucking die. If this style of gameplay I've just described to you sounds familiar, it should, because what I've just described to you is more akin to an on-rail shooter than a $60 revolutionary VR game. Which I know sounds really stupid at first, but just hear me out. You can't really move from your cover spot until all the enemies are dead, because if you do, they'll auto-lock onto you and gun you down on sight, and you can't really interact with the environment because all the gravity gloves allow you to do is just pull stuff to you. So, like I mentioned earlier, your only real option is just choosing which gun to shoot with. And I mean, like, let's be honest, if you can't move from your cover, and all you're really doing is choosing which gun to shoot with and then aiming and shooting the bad guys, you may as well go down to your local arcade, put a fucking $1 in, and play Time Crisis 4. Now, some of you may be saying, Drew, you could describe every single shooter like that. Just point and shoot at the bad guys. Yeah, well the thing is, pointing and shooting at the bad guys is shared in every shooting game. The thing is that pointing and shooting is really just the foundation. You build your game on top of that by adding cool and fun mechanics to your game. Like, let's take Doom for example. I mean, at the bare minimum, it's just shooting enemies, but then you take the overall aggressiveness of the game, glory kills, like the fucking double jump and shit, all that, it makes it for an entirely new experience. Take something like fucking Apex. It took the battle royale genre of just pointing and shooting at people and added a class system to it. Like, all of these things add something to their foundation of the pointing and shooting. But in Half-Life Alyx, all they really did was make the pointing and shooting and then just stop there. Like, that's just it. They're like, alright, well, we did it, boys. Let's go home for the day. We can point, we can shoot. We got our game. Boom, easy peasy. And let's be honest, just pointing and shooting isn't very fun. It's why on-rail shooters stay at the arcades and aren't on our home consoles. But for some reason, this is, and it just feels like an on-rail shooter, honestly. Hell, I'd say the on-rail shooter is more fun because when I shoot someone in the fucking head, they actually stagger, unlike in this game where Combines can apparently get shot in their fucking eye and not even flinch. What the fuck, Half-Life Alyx? Is my pistol shooting bullets or fucking spit wads? Okay, so I'd like to wrap up this video by going through all the problems that I found throughout the game, and just kind of talking about ways that I would fix them. So without further ado, let's do it. I've been trying to record this part for like 20 minutes, and for some reason I just can't fucking find the word. Just transition. Alright, so for this one, there's a lot of ways to fix it, and they really all start in the gravity gloves. If the gravity gloves had a little bit more functionality added to them, I think the game would be so much more interactive. Honestly, I thought I was going to be able to upgrade them at some point, but that point never came. Until this part. This part was fucking awesome, and it shows me that the staff behind this game is capable and willing to make fun and new shit, but I have no idea why they were so scared to do so up until the end, and why at the end it was so short. You want me to feel more immersed? Step 1, let me hit stuff using an object I found or pistol whip a zombie. And step 2, make it to where I throw a brick at a zombie, it actually recoils. Or hell, it could even fall down if I put enough force into the throw. And just like that, the player will feel exponentially more immersed. I guarantee it.
Seek medical attention.
Alright, you want to make movement in the game better? How about have only one movement type? And make it fun! If you want that movement type to be walking, allow me to have a sprint button. Or you could allow for quick cover movements with some kind of dive action if I make a certain gesture while holding the movement button and I have a valid cover option in sight. If you want me to be able to teleport, incorporate that into the combat with teleport cooldowns and teleporting abilities. Make the shootouts more stealth based where enemies can lose me since I can teleport all over the fucking place, and then I could do that without them noticing. Perhaps I could like throw down a bottle and then move cover so the enemies go to that place where I threw the bottle and then I could sneak up behind them and shoot them in the back of the fucking head. It could be like Skyrim where stealth shots offer more damage. Just make a decision and build your game around that. It's obvious that this game was meant to be very experimental, so experiment! Don't be afraid to fucking try weird shit! If people get motion sick, they won't care if they're having enough fun. Why do you think we like fucking roller coasters so much? Okay, come on, this one's pretty obvious. Just make more weapons. Like, 3 weapons in a Half-Life game? Just use the weapons from that game. You don't even have to design new weapons. Just make the old ones in VR. Where the fuck was my guided missile launcher? I was so excited for that. I wanted to guide a fucking missile with my hand. That would have been so cool. Whew. Alright, this video ended up being a little bit longer than I thought it would be, but hey, you're still here, so that's pretty cool. Thanks for watching. Feel free to tell me what you thought in the comments below, and I'm not just saying that so I can get like more interaction or whatever. I just really like talking about video games with people, and I've found that this is like a great way to do so. So like, fuck it, dude, just tell me whatever. Fucking tell me how stupid Half-Life Alyx is or how stupid my fucking voice is. I don't give a shit. If by some miracle someone on the Half-Life dev team stumbled across this video, I want you to know that you and your team did a really fucking cool thing. You got people talking about VR again, and that shit's great. I know I seemed like a cynical asshole in this video, but in all honesty, I envy your team's skill and dedication. I want to make games in the future, and when I see people like you guys trying to make a AAA game in VR and making it a Half-Life game, that shit's pretty inspiring. I hope one day I can be confident enough in my own abilities to take leaps of faith like that. Although, to me, your leap kind of landed off mark, I have a good feeling that your next jump will be a bullseye if you're willing to acknowledge what factors caused you to miss last time. Whatever that may be. Hopefully not Half-Life 3. Gabe, okay, if you're listening, let these people make something totally new. Like shit, dude, I don't care. Make, like, totally new. So yeah, that's the end of the video. I'd like to thank all of you for the awesome support you guys gave me on the Zelda video. That was really cool. I'm still going to be making difficulty reviews. I just thought I'd make this quick little rant about Half-Life Alyx, but I'm back on the difficulty reviews. Don't worry, okay? So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and see ya.